Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. It's Friday. It's been, an ironic week. Because of that, I decided to bring in Mr. Joe Collins III, a Republican, former California congressional candidate, and also a radio host at KABC.com. All right, Mr. Collins, good day. Thank you for coming back. How are you?
I'm extremely blessed. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. So we're going to chop it up about the Will Smith, Chris Rock saga. All right. For those who may have forgotten what happened, here's the video.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow.
Okay. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about that particular situation. So I will allow you to explain, and then I will respond, brother. Go ahead.
Oh man, thank you. Listen, I'm really torn on the subject. You know what I'm saying? The situation is extremely controversial. You on one end you have a man who felt like he was taking up for his wife, and on the other end it's the Oscars. And this is like one of the first times in history that you had this many black people involved in Oscars after complaining about not having enough black representation at the Oscars, and then you have, one black man get into his feelings about something another black man said, and he goes up there and slap him. I think it's bad for the culture. I think it's extremely distasteful. But on the other hand, sitting back and looking, you got a lot of women that says, you know what, he was looking out for his woman. She has this medical condition. He shouldn't have said anything, this, that, and the other. And I understand, both men have a lot of history of going back and forth, but I don't think it was a good look for the culture for Will Smith to smack another black man at the Oscars, in my opinion.
Yeah, brother, unless you're talking about the culture being Hollywood, I completely disagree. So the only culture that this connects to is the culture of Hollywood and their fascination with status. Will Smith is not indicative of black behavior. And let me explain why I say that, okay? We have this tendency to generalize black folk in a way that says if this group does something and they happen to be black, people will say, look at those black people. Or if one black person does something, look at how black people act. And if you're going to take that point of view, do it this way. If Will Smith, and I don't agree with saying it this way, but if you do say it this way, have some intellectual integrity and argument. If Will Smith made the culture of black folks look bad, then that means by definition, brother, that Chris Rock made the culture of black people look good. But we don't explain it in that context. Let me go to another point here. Will Smith got up and slapped Chris Rock. He was being Hollywood, Joe. Will Smith would not have slapped Steve Harvey like that if Steve Harvey told that same joke. Guarantee you. Hell, Will Smith would not have slapped Will Ferrell, okay? There are plenty of people that Will Smith would have never got up and slapped. It was all performative. It was not about defending his wife, in my humble opinion. Because if you remember, Will Smith did laugh at the joke. He laughed at the joke. Hell, he laughed harder at the joke than most of the audience did. And then he looked at Jada. I'm keeping it 100 here, Joe.
You're right.
He looked at Jada. He saw Jada was not laughing. Jada didn't laugh until Chris Rock got slapped. We got that video now. So he looked at his wife. He saw that his wife was not laughing at the joke. And then he decides to get up and do this performative thing against Chris Rock. As I said before, I think it was calculated. I don't think he would have done that with other comedians. I think he already assumed that Chris Rock would do absolutely nothing. I think Will Smith slapped Chris Rock for himself, not for his wife, not defending the honor of his wife. And let's be very clear about this. I want to conflate some things intentionally. We see videos all the time that people post of, let's say, two children getting into an argument. Let's say there are two teenagers getting into an argument, right? And let's say those teenagers happen to be black. And one teenager says something like, yo mama, right? Is that an excuse now because a person has criticized your mother? Is that now an excuse for physical combat right now? Is that how we're doing things now, Joe? Are you mixed about that? Are you torn about that?
No, absolutely not. I like to deflate situations, as much as possible. Personally, I wouldn't went up there and slap Chris Rock. I mean, if you got a problem with it, especially when they've been friends for a long time, that's something that you discuss off stage, but you don't go up there and slap a man. However,
right.
Chris Rock ticket sales went up for his well,
Chris Rock is winning. There's no question, and I'm glad he's winning. I felt so bad, man. You've done events. I've done events. I've hosted events. When I tell you, I felt so bad for Chris. Once we realized it was real and not staged, I felt so bad for Chris Rock because I know he felt empty for a moment, lost. The aftermath, the embarrassment, the memes, the jokes. He's a comedian and he's the butt of the joke. But let's be very clear about why it has been treated this way by the Oscars, by Hollywood. Joe, let's first talk about the autoimmune disease that Jada has. Okay, I'm sensitive to that.
Yeah,
there's no indication that Chris Rock was aware that that's the reason she shaved her head. Context matters. And if that's your friend, as you said, brother, if they're friends, you give your friend the benefit of the doubt that he may not have known that. Here's the other thing. I come from a place where OGs really were created. Like I come from that place, all right? I come from Glenwood Road. There are people saying, oh, what Will Smith did was so gangster. It was so manly. Let me tell you what a real man would have done. You see that you've laughed at a joke that your wife finds offensive. You lean over and you say, baby, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have laughed at that joke. I'm gonna talk to Chris. I'll handle this after the show. Sit back and enjoy the rest of the show.
Exactly.
That's all you do. That's all you do. All of this performative, getting up, slapping somebody. And this is another thing, Joe, that's not really talked about that should be talked about. This was all about Will Smith trying to display his dominance. You know what the open hand slap means, brother. You know what that means, right? That was Will Smith trying to display his dominance. And then the Oscars and Hollywood, standing up, giving him a standing ovation. That's our fascination with status. We are fascinated with the status of individuals because I guarantee you, if you change the context, if it's Chris Rock slapping Will Smith, nobody applauds Chris Rock, right?
Yeah. However, Will Smith and his wife, they did put their relationship on public display with their red table talk when they were talking about that entanglement, and that was a bad situation.
So listen, here's the thing, man. You know, Will Smith is about that life, and he wants to go around slapping people. I could think of 2 or 3 other folks he probably should have. Anyway, so
I don't think Will Smith is about that life. He is not about that life. Man. It's not.
So this is where I'm at with this whole thing, and it's it's Friday, and I'm glad we can talk about it openly and honestly. People are still very, very mixed about it. The last polling data showed that 52% of people that were polled actually agreed with Will Smith. Okay, so you have this mix of reaction and response. I think that would change in hindsight. But right now, people are kind of excited about the fact that he got up and did this very performative thing. But context matters, status matters. As I said earlier, if it's not Will Smith and somebody else, it's a different story, right? It's a different narrative. At this point, Chris Rock, who has not really addressed it fully, is going to have to address this. He's going to have to talk about it because he lives in the public. Will Smith is going to talk about it. There was a report that came out this morning that said he's going back to the red table. Now, Joe,
see what I'm saying?
That's why y'all are in this madness in the beginning. That damn red table. You need to talk at the kitchen table at your house and settle some things there before going back on television. What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You know what I'm saying? However, Kevin Hart did the same thing. I mean, when Mr. Brown went on stage and roasted Kevin Hart got on stage and roasted him back. I think Will Smith should have took that avenue and did the same thing along with Kurt Franklin during that whole the Church Hoodies Awards, right? But
that's another thing, Joe. I bet he wouldn't have slapped Kurt Franklin like that.
No, he wouldn't have slapped him. You can't slap somebody. You can't slap somebody under the cross, man. It ain't gonna
work. Kurt would have gave him the business, brother.
Hey, you know what? But I think it gives them the ability to push both of their platforms because now people are watching them. You know what I'm saying? Or what he's gonna talk about on the Red Table Talk. What is Chris Rock gonna talk about on his stand-up comedy shows? You know, and I watched a clip of it from the one he did the other night, and he said, well, I had a whole show wrote out, but I'm gonna talk about being smacked by Will Smith, because that's what people want to hear about. That's what people want to talk about. So, you know, I think it was Hollywood. I think it was distasteful, but I mean, it's still Hollywood. I don't believe anything I really see on TV these
days.
Let
me ask you this. Because, all right, he did not address the Will Smith thing at his comedy routine. He just kind of said, hey, you know, I already wrote some stuff. You know, I'll talk about it later. But let me ask you this, because there are some people who have said that this is all staged. So I say it's performative. What I mean by that is Will Smith was performing, all right? Because he made a calculation that he would not have made with other comedians who would have said the same joke. Do you think this was staged? Meaning Chris Rock was in on it too.
Oh boy, I would have to think that there is some context of the whole entire thing that was staged. I mean, Will Smith he probably got asked to leave, but he did leave. It looked like Chris Rock was ready to get smacked. The way Will Smith smacked him, they were at the same party. I believe they were at the same party afterwards. Chris Rock never pressed.
Brother, I think. Wait a minute, Joe. In all due respect, man, I think you're getting your news from Truth Social, Donald Trump's social media company.
Look, I'm not even on Truth Social. Like number 300,000. I'm like, where's mine? I got kicked off LinkedIn, you know, for talking trash.
Brother, I think you got some of your facts misaligned here, brother. I don't know of any report of Chris Rock and Will Smith partying together afterwards. I understand if you think it was staged. It did look staged initially. It definitely looked staged. But I don't think after more information, I don't think that it was staged at all. But go ahead.
No, I mean that's what I assume. I think the only thing that makes me think it's real was when Will Smith got back to his seat and he started yelling at Chris Rock from his seat, and it looked really emotional. It looked like he was extremely emotional about the entire situation.
Man, Will Smith wasn't damn emotional. He was acting. Will Smith is a professional pretender, okay? He pretended like he was a badass. He pretended like he shafted somebody. And I think sometimes, Joe, people do things to make themselves appear big, and they reveal themselves as being very small, kind of like Donald Trump.
So he should have got 2 Oscars then, one for being
right,
badass at the Oscar, and then one for the Serena movie.
Yeah, all right, so let's do this on a scale of 1 to 10, okay? And the audience, please jump in on this as well. On a scale of 1 to 10, is Will Smith a winner, which is a 10? Or does he come out of this a loser, which is a 1? Is Chris Rock a winner, which goes to 10? Or does it come out as a loser, in your opinion, which is a 1?
All right, in my opinion, I think Will Smith is debatable. How can he take this and flip it so he can boost his own platform and make money off the controversy? I'm gonna say it's a 5 because I don't know where he's gonna go with this. Chris Rock, definitely a winner. I mean, he got his tour going on. Tickets to sales are out of control. I think this gives him some type of subject matter for people to be looking forward to in his speeches. So I think that he's a winner.
All right, so I agree with you on Chris Rock. I disagree with you on Will Smith. Will Smith is a negative 10 to me. Let me say this, he's a negative 10 to me. Right. I used to really have a lot of respect for Will, man. I had a lot of respect for that cat until he did that. He took so much away from himself in that moment by trying to take something away from another black man. He took a lot from himself. Will Smith, in my opinion, needs to face the music, face the facts, apologize for what he did. Now remember, he apologized to the Academy, right? He didn't apologize to Chris Rock at the award ceremony. He apologized to the Academy. He apologized to the white elites of the Academy. He didn't apologize to the black man he slapped. He did not apologize to Will Packer in particular, which I thought was disrespectful as well. So Will Smith, for me, has to be really authentic about how he made a mistake, okay? I've made mistakes in my life, brother, all right? You're not a summary of your worst day, all right? That's not who you are. But if you're unwilling to, 1, acknowledge it, you cannot, 2, change it. Because you cannot change what you fail to acknowledge. To me, this is a very human thing. I know you're talking about the platform and parlaying it so that he can make more money and have a significant impact if he does it the right way. What I'm saying is the universe is still the universe, man. And Will Smith has to reconcile with what he did in an authentic way and connect to people at an authentic level. I don't understand the privilege he thinks he has to physically assault someone because a joke landed wrong, or whatever freedom his wife Jada may think he should have because she's offended by a joke. Offensive jokes happen. There are people, listen man, when we post this on social media today, there are gonna be people that call me the N-word. Hell, some of them may call you the N-word and they in your party, okay? If now we're gonna track them down and go slap them? No, we're not gonna do that. We're not even gonna think to do that. Now, if they wanna come up to our face and physically become aggressive, well, yeah, that's called defense, self-defense, right? Or if somebody wants to do that to somebody you love, that's called in the defense of others. That's perfectly legal. But you have a dichotomy here. You have a person who's a victim of an assault and then a person who's a victim of a joke. And we're debating on which one we should back here.
You're right. But I accept your opinion. I think it's very thoughtful. I never thought about it like that. But I mean, all in all, it's still good. They're in Hollywood, you know, and we're still here talking about them.
That's right.
At the end of the day, I'm still torn on the situation. Before then, I never even put any much thought into it. I just thought it was extremely distasteful. You know, I understand both perspectives. I tried my best to understand both perspectives, but I mean, who knows?
If this was in true defense of Jada, if I really believe this was in true defense of his wife, I would have a more understandable perception of this whole thing. I simply do not believe this was in defense of Jada. I think this was in defense of himself. This was his display of toxic masculinity. I think maybe he was embarrassed about the ride home and the conversation that was gonna happen when Jada said, "Why did you laugh at that joke that was offensive to me?" And so, listen, mission accomplished. She probably didn't say that to him at all now.
Yeah, she probably didn't. But I don't think she has any room to talk, you know, after her entanglement issue. So, I mean, I guess we'll
I'm just saying, man, I'm not trying to, but if I was gonna slap somebody, it would have been that young man in my home. Anyway, brother, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being on the show, Joe. It's Friday and I wanted to do something lighthearted with you. We're always in combat on political issues. On this, we can agree about 70%. All right, so I appreciate you being on the program.
All right, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.